Hello, welcome to Actual Play, Traveler Moons of Leviathan. We're back after about a month because 2 weeks ago I was not feeling so fine. And so here we are. I'm Sean. I use he, him pronouns. I'm going to be playing Alexandros, the retired, I guess he's not entirely retired, but the returning home soldier general who is trying to put his ancestral space station back in order. This was the game inspired by Morgan Ellis. He made this character, and we're playing it out. I'm excited to see where it goes. We originally thought we'd just do a one shot, but then we're like, hey, this is fun. Let's keep playing this. This is good times. As usual, all the funds that we raise here are split between the Translegal Defense Fund and Black Lives Matter. So if you put money in the kitty, that's where it goes. Any which way you do it, and we appreciate anything folks do. And yeah, that's me. How about you, Judd? What's going on?
Hey, I'm Judd. He, him, and yeah, it's nice to be back. We've chatted a bit about the system stuff. I think for conflict resolution, I think we'll use a lot of Apocalypse World stuff. And then, interesting thing about Classic Traveler is the training stuff is very in setting, right? So I think we'll kind of keep that. And if you want to train a new skill, you kind of have to it really almost reads like a move. It's like you kind of have to make a education plan and in game find people to teach you. But because we're also using moves, I think moves are going to be represented by tech. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, and we'll kind of fiddle with it as we go. And if something's not working, then we'll talk about it. And I don't know, we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, it's nice to be back, and it's nice to be playing again. And we got on and realized it's been a while. I feel like that's with every other week games, it works perfectly until it doesn't. And then if you miss that one game, it's like a month goes by and you're like, that's a 12th of a year. What just happened?
Yeah. And I know I had this before we got together feeling of is this game still happening? And there was no reason why it wasn't, but it was just this kind of you go for a month without playing a game and you get this feeling is it really happening or not? So, and that's just one missed session, right? But yeah, we're here. We're back. Hey, Andy, it's nice to see you in chat. And hope you are having a good evening too. I'm sipping on a cup of tea because I had a nap before this. And the great thing about naps in the afternoon is they just feel so good. The downside about them is they just make me want to lay in bed all, from then on. So, so yes, get a little caffeine in me. See how things go. I vividly remember the end of last session, and I had very strong feelings about what my next steps would be.
Yeah.
Hey, Sinbrave. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but yeah, thanks for. Oh, hey, what's up, Chris? Good to see you, man. Yeah, we're mashing Traveler and Apocalypse World, and and we'll figure out how it goes as we play.
Yeah, it seemed to work last week or last month or 10,000 years ago when we played
last session.
Yeah.
Here's the embarrassing thing. I don't know where my stats are. I'm looking for them.
All right.
I'll find them. Sure.
I'm also looking for my notes. Something that would have been best done, I don't know, half hour ago or so.
Sure.
But it's coming together. But
I 20. So then I was like, oh yeah, I'll just open it up, and I was like, no, that's not fair. That's fine. Yeah, naps are minimum 4-hour undertaking. It's true. I do, although I can go for a 20-minute power nap. Sometimes that does really just setting my head down for a little bit, do it. But today was a longer undertaking. It was a full nap.
Great. I got my notes. They are in Google Drive. They're up. They're loading.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was a nice, tight session. Kind of got to know your brother as he came back and kind of was dealing with his PTSD, and your character Alexandros had a duel out in the void with swords.
Yeah, with void dueling, and I know the God, I'm frustrated. I can't find my notes because I definitely took them, and I thought they were in a place that I'm not seeing them. But I don't remember the name of the guy I dueled, but I do remember his second, the guy who sort of put him up for it, which was Nestor.
Yes.
And,
yeah. I think you dueled with Paris.
Was it Paris? Okay, nice.
They
did some thing where they tampered with the comm system so that as soon as you kind of left contact with the ship, you wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able. The two ways you can kind of lose this, the two ways you can kind of yield to this is, giving the sign of, I yield, it's you, or if you get knocked off the ship's hull, then you can calm in and yield. And if you don't do that, was it a duel of wits? No, Bennett, it was not a duel of wits. It was a duel of swords. It was a duel of space swords and grappling hooks and zero G and fighting on the side of a giant space yacht. It was, if you fly off into the Leviathan, the big gas giant, then you can calm in and you can send over comms that you surrender. If you don't do that, ostensibly you just go into the void. But Jed, you tell me whether you feel like this is done and we like cut to the after effects, or if there is the opportunity. What I have in mind is presenting Nestor with this as the problem and saying, you're his second, you make the call. Do we go scoop him up? Will you surrender for him, or will you let your friend go drift off space? But if you feel like the moment has passed, if he's already lost, etc., then we can cut forward. That's my thought.
I think so. Let me just tell you what, like, decorum would dictate that you send Kalchis, who is your second, to go talk to Nestor and say, like, should we go scan and pick him up? But if you want to break decorum and go talk to Nestor yourself, I'm totally cool with that. I just want to talk about it and agree that that's a breach. Just start to like set things up and world build a little.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good question of like, what kind of leader is Alexandros? Because he just brought Kalchis on, and in this trip, and I think that if he is a micromanaging kind of, I'm going to hire you, but then not actually have you do your job, then yes, breaking decorum makes sense. But I don't, as much as it like pains me to not be in the action, I don't think that's who Alexandros is. I believe I have the luxury in playing games with you, Judd, of being able to play thoughtful characters who consider their actions, and it doesn't lead to boring scenarios or to being paid, like to never being part of the action because the other players are off blowing shit up. So it's a wonderful delight that I can like play characters that aren't just brash assholes all the time. Brash assholes sometimes, but not all the time. So I think the last place we left off is I was with Kalchis, and I kind of gotten out of my suit, and then person, and sorry again, I cannot find my notes, but the person who was kind of like on comm said, "Hey, he hasn't called
Yeah.
in," and
Yeah. I'm not sure we named them. I'm not sure we named the kind of like dueling administrator.
Yeah.
I think we've left them kind of nameless and just a title, but we can name them if it comes up. If we need to, we will.
Okay. So I think what I want to do is have a conversation with Calchas, and then and then I'm happy to be like, see what happens. It's out of my hands.
Yeah.
So Calchas was the one who warned me that they had tampered with the comm system. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think I look at him and I grab him by the shoulder and I say, you need to, you're the only one who can make Nestor own his actions here. You need to go tell him in front of everyone that's around.
Yeah.
Tell him that we have lost comm signals, and you can tell him, you can say sometimes around the Leviathan, signals get broken. That's a thing. That's a true thing. That's a thing that happens, right? Sometimes we lose signals. You don't have to blame him for tampering with it, but it's on him to make the call now. We can't reach Paris, and it's his call to surrender, and we'll go pick up his friend or let his friend die. But he needs to make that call. Everyone needs to know it's his choice, because he's the one who's sending his friend to his death if he won't do it, if he won't surrender.
Yeah. No, this is the science fantasy medieval version of sending your boss an email after a shitty meeting and being like, just so we're clear, this is what we decided. Yeah. I get it. I've totally been there. You're covering your ass for HR. I love it. And yeah, I think Cal just nods and says that's wise, and walks. I think you're in like still in the med bay, being cleared, and he walks out, and he's gone for 10 minutes and comes back, and you can just tell by the stiffness in his walk that Nestor is letting Paris die. And the other thing that I just want to kind of remind us of is that the reason Calchas is here is like you are recruiting him to be a counselor for your brother. Because Calchas had been captured by the enemy in the Subsector Civil War, and had returned and kind of dealt with that trauma, and you thought he would be a good person for your brother to have at his side. Yeah. So yeah, he comes back looking totally dejected and disappointed in his colleague, and says no. He says we should return to the station. Paris has made his decision.
I think Alexei was really not coming out here to murder fools. And I think he knows, like, he's like, he looks at Calchas in this private moment. He says, there are some fights that you lose the moment you enter them. And I think this was one of them. I should have, Nestor will invariably stir the pot, and all the trouble that we've had, all the trouble that the knights have been, the feuding knights have been brewing, are now going to bubble to the surface because my brother is here, and ostensibly decisions can be made, and people are going to turn to him. All of these resolved disputes are going to come to his attention. They're going to ask him to resolve differences between the knights, and those differences are just going to be all the more heightened because of this. And your job, I just made harder because it's going to be. You're going to have to counsel my brother as people barrage him with complaints about their fellow knights. So I will still do all that I can to keep them off his heels, but I'm sure he'll be getting. This is sort of in my mind at the beginning of every big bad con when scheduling happens, when signups first happen. There's a moment, there's a tipping point. There's this moment where it goes from like the schedule is visible, but you can't sign up to you can sign up, and we always like ramp up the servers to be the best they can, but it doesn't matter. Something goes wrong, and I get like texts and emails and tweets and Facebook messages and like people knocking on my door, slipping envelopes underneath it. Sean, I can't sign up for games, and I feel like that's gonna be my brother's life, right? Is that people are just going to be coming at him, and I will be trying to play whack-a-mole to like stop some of them, but some of them are going to get through. So that's the situation that I think Couch is going to have to deal with.
I like how tonight we're spending a lot of time putting this like intense, Dune-like politicking into like the most HR work terms that we possibly can. Like we're just like let's mundane the fuck out of this up. Like this is,
I mean, it makes it real for me, honestly.
I get it. No, I totally get it. I just think it's really funny. I feel like you and I would, if you had just done it, I wouldn't have made fun of it. We've both done it. We've both spent a considerable amount of on-screen time doing it. It's just really, really funny. That it's just like, I went into this meeting. I had no idea what was going to happen. And then she was like, what's in, and then she's like, put your hand in the box. And I was like, I don't know. I really would like that. I'd like a union representative here just so I can, good. Thank you, Andy. You're always very, very supportive.
And I imagine that the at that point, I don't know if we were done with our full trip, but at that point, I just cut it short. We just head home. Like the mood for Alexei is, it darkened. I think people, see him emerge. I don't think he got hurt in the fight, but
excuse me.
But no. But nevertheless, he, I think he looks worse for wear, and he has sort of this hollow look in his eyes. And when he comes out of the med bay and like people are around, he just orders that the captain, bring us in. It's like I think that's enough.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk too much about playing. I want to start playing, but I like that, even in this world where we're just coming back from a civil war, and we established that the knights of your ancestral space station are engaged in vendetta, but the death of one of those knights is still a big deal.
Yeah.
And most duels don't go to the death, and I think that's cool. So I like that it has weight, and we're not just like being cavalier about life. I think that's kind of nifty. So thumbs up on that. And let's cut back. I mean, I think you dock and exit, down the dock with Calchas, and I think your brother is waiting for you, and it is a stark parallel to the last game where you were waiting for your brother, and there's a lot of press and a lot of journalists, and this time I think the dock is just a working dock, and there are stevedores and loaders and industrial robots, and it's a very different scene, but he's waiting there with his uh, you know, robot guards who are in cloak around him, and he says, "The press hasn't heard about what happened yet. Let's get you back to the manor before they do."
Um, yeah, I think uh, Alexi is just a little bit relieved that he seems to be in, he seems to be engaged, and
Yeah,
he's taking an active role, and he nods and almost smiles a little, like this is bad news, but it's kind of nice to have my brother at my side.
yeah,
And I say, very well, I want to introduce you to somebody. And I'd like a scene where we're being ferried back on some hover vehicle or
yeah,
whatnot to we're being ferried back, and we have like the sassy, the cloaked uh, robot bodyguards, and
totally. And let's describe them again because they're cool. I
yeah,
think they probably don't look very human. I think they've like got a vaguely human silhouette, but I think they roll around on a sphere, and they kind of like they have like they're on like a cylinder that magnetically kind of attaches to it, and so they all whirl around on these little spheres, and then they've got kind of a sensor array that's a kind of a spherical headpiece, and they've got kind of shoulders, shoulder shape where weapons can come out.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think most of the time they kind of predator cloak out of sight until you're and kind of follow the hover vehicle at speed
Okay,
because they can move pretty well.
nice.
And yeah, take time to describe robots. And yeah, and
Absolutely.
you wanted to introduce Calchus to your brother.
Yeah, exactly. So I met this is sort of an opportunity in the ride back where we have a few moments of privacy where the guard are outside, and not that we can't say things in front of the guard, but this is sort of more intimate, and so on the way back, I introduce the two, and I say, brother, this is Calchas. You may know him. He's one of the knights, and I've appointed him as your counselor, which I think we described last time as an official position.
Yeah,
This is not necessarily an oddity. Um,
yeah,
and I
which
yeah
is a really cool. Go ahead.
no, you're gonna say the thing I think I was gonna say. So yeah.
It was a really cool miscommunication because I meant a therapist, and you took it in a totally different direction. Like I literally was like, "Your brother needs a therapist," and you were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, let's get a knight at his side who will help him." Like, and I think we, in a weird collaborative, non, we've been gaming a long time, and so we kind of met each other in the middle way. Uh,
Yep.
we found a middle ground between those two things, but yeah, it was a total us talking past each other, but it ended up being kind of cool. So
Right. Yeah.
can
I think
we?
we started at like my version of like the small council or like the advisors, and yours as the
Right.
therapist.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, no, I think we can find someone who can fill both of these, who can fit somewhere in the middle.
I dig it.
And and I say he's Couch's family works the docks. They control loading and unloading of uh, at the station, and they've seen, and has had, and this is where I think Alexi doesn't really know how to talk about this very well. So he says, and he's had similar experiences. Uh, he's had a similar experience to you during
Oh
the war.
wow.
Um, and I want him. He's already proved his loyalty to the family just on this last journey, and I want him to be at your side. And he's looking at him like, you know, ultimately I've given him the job, but you know, you could turn it down. You could tell me I don't. You know, he's looking at him to see what is
Right.
his reaction.
Yeah. Love it. And sorry, one second. Yeah, I think they kind of nod to each other and silently agree to talk about all this later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and there definitely is a bristling and a discomfort from your brother, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And you know, he's in his kind of ducal military uniform and is uncomfortable. Uh, and yeah, I think you get back to the manor. Uh, and yeah, and I think your brother kind of goes back up to his room, like says, you know, I'm glad you're well. Let's discuss this later. And again, in a parallel of last month's game, he walks away and and kind of leaves you there.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Last week, when that happened, you went and talked to, you know, the captain who brought him here, and you had also stopped by the family's true sword and kind of, you know, in that chamber and kind of like had a moment where you kind of thought about what you wanted to do next and how you wanted to deal with all this. Uh, and I don't know that we have a clear what's next thing. Um, I feel like we could deal with the press because clearly, like, your Chamberlain is being inundated with, you know, e-missives right now
yeah.
saying, you know, do you want to offer a statement for the death of Paris? Uh, we could do that kind of. We could do that interview. We could go talk to Paris's family before anybody else does. Um,
I think
it
that's a great.
is,
I like that idea. I like the idea of holding off just a little bit before talking to the press
yeah,
and going and seeing Paris's family. Also, uh, Alexia has this strange kind of uncertainty about what to do with Calches right now because he hired him to work for his brother, but he's already sort of found a certain affinity for him. You know, like Calches was the second in this duel, and he's already sort of confided in him. And his brother just like pieced out as he has done
yeah,
as he did last time, and so he's a little bit torn about Calches go see if you can help him because they have to get to know each other versus it would be really great to have the second in my battle at my side when I talk to the family. Um, and but I think he wants to be able to prevent Calchas from getting embroiled in this if it really blows up, because he really needs him to be
yeah.
able to be there for his brother. So yeah, he's gonna leave. He's gonna say perhaps he's like turns to Calchas and says my brother's mood is dark. Um, I don't know that you can lighten it, but perhaps if perhaps you can help him sit in that darkness. and do so with a little bit more company, and kind of like leaves him to the manor, like, you know, Mikasa Suka, like, I gotta go, and leaves him there to figure out his way. Which, you know, if he had more time, he would show him around, but I'm sure there's staff to do that.
Cool.
So
yeah. There's definitely staff to, like, I mean, he's got an office here now, right? So they, he says, you know, the staff will show me my office. I'll be all right.
Awesome. All right. I think I had a lot of fun with Polara describing her hair. So I don't know how much we've described Alexandros. I might have described him physically in the last session, and I don't
think we did. I actually went and listened to it again, and I don't think we have a physical description of Alexandra. So if you want to give that, that'd be great.
Awesome. I'm we're only going to see him from the bust up, because he's going to be in a mirror, a vanity mirror. So it's got kind of the 3 panels, like the straight on and the 2 at the side. And he is, and what we see is his long sort of shoulder length, black hair, maybe not black, maybe dark brown, maybe with some streaks of gray in it. Definitely with some streaks of gray in it. And he's still a pretty healthy mane, but he's gone gray and furious, and he's having one of his attendants braid his hair, pulling it all back into like a French braid. In the back, and it's being woven with it's being woven with a red ribbon in the back, and nice. That is a sign of mourning. That's like you know, wearing red and having your having your hair pulled back is both, you know, having your hair pulled back are both things you do as part of mourning. And so he's going to do that and change, you know, and like, it's not quite like funeral attire, because he's not ready for that, but he's showing signs of respect. And, he has really, just deep, wide, brown eyes, they're like a sea, like you could just kind of get lost in them. They're the opposite of piercing eyes. They're just sort of these deep wells, and a few battle scars that we see on his face from the battle. I think one above his eye, one kind of cut that goes above his eye and onto the top of his cheek from a horrible, you know, from a bad wound that, you know, was like this close away from losing his eye. And because, as we've described, many of our battles, even though guns exist, many of our battles are still sword fights.
Yeah.
And I think that's as much as we see of Alexandros right now.
Cool.
And then, I want to go visit the family. Visit Paris' family.
Awesome. So I'm on the Wikipedia page, and I've got Paris, and we've got his brother is Hector, and his sister is Cassandra. And I think we'll stick to that. I think we'll use that. So I think, you know, your Chamberlain sends you the family info. You probably know it pretty well, but it's a good thing to go over. You know, both of his mother was a Marine and his father was a naval officer. They both died in the war. He has a younger brother who's like 14 years old, and a younger sister who's probably 19. Uh, she's kind of
Hector and
study.
Cassandra.
Yeah, and they've both been notified that you're coming to pay respects, and yeah, I think there are signs that the house is in mourning as you arrive. It's definitely not as big as your manor, right? I think
Mhm.
your manor has areas where you can like have guests and do this and do that, and their area that they're knights probably like take up a portion of a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Um, it is still opulent. It's still really more than any humans need, but yeah, he uh, it's different than what you've got, and your your security, your SaaS bots are you can hear the hum of them nearby as you enter, and I think you can feel that it's tense with even just like the front door security
Right.
as you go in, and when you
And I'm happy for like the SaaS bots to like escort me up to the front door because I don't. Again, like Alexei doesn't carry weapons on him.
yeah
Aside from those 3 bullets that are really like more like good luck charms than, I mean, they are bullets, but he doesn't carry a gun to fire them with. Uh, uh, yeah, he doesn't have anything on him, but I can totally see the SaaS bots like escorting me all the way up to the gates, and then just as you would leave your sword at the gate, like that they would,
oh cool
that
yeah
they would stop there.
yeah I think like you have to give them a nod for that, right?
Yeah,
um
absolutely.
and and uh and they read that, having been with you for years, and uh stop at the door, and um you take this kind of palatial elevator that gives you this, our first real view of the station as a city,
Hmm.
as you go up, and we get kind of this sci-fi cityscape of these. I picture like stalactite and stalagmite, that melt down into each other, but they're buildings, and they go up, into the support structures of this ancient ancestral satellite that goes around this uh, gas giant, or that goes around a moon that goes around a gas giant,
Love it.
and that goes around a ducal moon that goes around the gas giant, and yeah, they Cassandra and Cassandra and Hector meet you at the door, and um, I think you can see that both of them have been crying recently,
Yeah.
and he bows stiffly, and has his family dagger at his hip, and uh, she curtsies and has the family sword at hers. And like the way they've dressed is definitely, we're being polite, but we're ready for battle.
Sure.
And chairs are brought out, and drinks are served as you kind of like sit across each other in this, in something that could be very welcoming if it was a warm environment, and instead it comes off as like kind of cold.
Yeah, it seems very
And
formal, very
yeah,
cold,
and
like
formal.
that they're
Yeah,
they're doing the thing that they need to do.
right.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Alexei thanks them for inviting him to his home and for seeing him. And he says, I've had to tell many families about the loss of their children, loss of their loved ones, of their siblings, but never before has it been at my hands. There's been soldiers that I commanded in battle to fight what we felt was a just cause, not a personal duel. And so I am unfamiliar with all the customs, but I would hear your grievances with me, and I would tell you if you want to. If you want to hear it, I would tell you of the valiance of your brother before he died.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought there was something coming after if you want to.
If they want to, I would tell if they want to hear it, I'll tell them.
I lost you. I don't know if it's on my side or your side, but I can't hear you.
Oh no. Oh, friends.
What is happening? Hold on, I can't hear you.
Let's see.
Disconnect your.
Oh, hold on.
No problem.
Sorry, my Bluetooth just picked up my. Hold on, I know what's going on.
I know what it is too. I've seen this before. Yay, Bluetooth deciding to.
Hold on, my Bluetooth thing just went on, and now it pairs. Right, you son of a bitch. Now I can hear you. Okay.
Now you can hear me. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, right. my Bluetooth headphones in a different part of the apartment picked up and decided that we'll connect right now. Why not?
Yeah. This is a good time. This is a good time as any. So I tell them if they would hear it, I'll tell them the valiance of their brother before he died. You know, if that is something they want to know. I was the last person to see him, and I can tell them, of his actions, of his valiance. But primarily, he's here to hear their grievances. You know, he knows it was a fair duel, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean people in space, no one can hear your Bluetooth pairing.
Indeed. Cassandra says that she's not interested in hearing about the duel, and Hector sniffles and tries to be more adult than he is and says, "Do I have to challenge you to a duel when I come of age? Is that how the vendetta works?" And like Cassandra looks at him like, "Oh my God, you just threatened, technically threatened the ruling family, one of the ruling family sons who's all but in charge of the space station."
Right.
And yeah, but it's an earnest question.
Yeah. And Alexandros says, there is no need for that. That is why we have our system of dueling, that disputes can end. However, as I said, I am here to hear your grievances, and should you want to challenge me in a and should you feel the need to challenge me to best me, I want to think of like a game that's like chess or something like that, like something that is entirely, a sport that there is zero risk at.
Right.
I think let's make it based on this setting. I say if you want to challenge me to a game of orbiting moons, and that is this three-dimensional chess game.
Yeah.
If you want to challenge me to a game of orbiting moons, I am a terrible player, and I would accept your. I would accept that if you feel the need to. And he's saying it, and the thing he's trying to convey is to Cassandra. He's trying to say, I'm not taking that seriously as a threat. To Hector, he's trying to say, I understand that you're really upset, and I want to be on the level, and like I want you to find a way that you can vet to that. So he's trying to like convey to the older people like a little bit of levity, but with Hector, he's being very serious. And I think that comes across as like looking at Hector very seriously and then turning and kind of like not winking, but like giving a slight nod to Cassandra and saying like, I'm a terrible player to her.
Yeah. Cool.
Because he would really like to end it here and not have continued animosity with the family. But like if they have to, okay. You know, if like this means now you hate me, let it out. You know, let me know about it. You want me to make some sort of roll here?
I was looking. I don't think so.
Okay. I had the liaison ability.
Yeah.
You know, and
you are liaison. Maybe. I mean, maybe you're trying to charm them. But I feel like it's so much more earnest than that. I almost feel like dice don't do this justice.
Okay. I mean, I'm fine with you saying, you know, based on what you said, I think is what happens. And if they're super mad at me, I get it. But this is the most that Alexi knows how to do. Like you said, this is the first time.
Do you want to read a situation?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Cool.
I think reading a situation makes total sense.
Yeah, that sounds like a good use of the liaise skill at this point.
Yeah. Let's do that thing. Man, Judd, I forgot to turn off my cheat codes.
You're still killing it?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool.
On 2d6, I got a 13.
Yeah. So your things are who's in control here, what's the best way in, how to round through, who or what poses the biggest threat, who or what represents the biggest opportunity for me to do X, what should I be on the lookout for?
And those are all good questions.
Yeah.
And I get 3, right?
Yeah.
Read me the first one again.
Yeah.
Are you pulling this from Apocalypse World or are you pulling this from Burned Over?
I'm pulling this from Apocalypse World. Who's in control here? This is straight up Apocalypse World Burned Over basic moves.
Yeah.
But I don't think it changed too much from Apocalypse World to Burned Over. And I will post those questions somewhere when I have a moment.
Sounds good.
So that you can look at them. I'll like put them in our Roll20.
Well, I really want to know what's the best way in. You know, what's the best? Because what I think what's happening right now is that they are being formal. You know, Hector had a minor breach there, but it wasn't a huge one. And I think that there's this level of formality that could come from lots of different sources. It could come from you killed my brother, super fair. Right. It could come from I don't know you and you're really powerful, so I'm going to be as distant as possible. Or it could come from like an actual family vendetta thing, and I don't know what that is. So I want to know what's the best way into having a more honest conversation with them. You know, to having them be level with me about what they want.
So I want to ask some clarifying questions. Do you want to know what the best way to have an honest conversation with them is, or do you want to know what the best way to like seal this all up and wrap it with a ribbon is?
No, I think Alexi knows better than to put band-aids on top of things.
Okay.
If I put a band-aid on this, I can get them to be like, cool, let's shake and we're all happy. And then the moment I leave, they're like, you know, they're drawing blades and saying, you know, we'll plot. We'll plot his end, right? And so I want to know I want to know how to get them to be honest with me.
You get the feeling that Cassandra wants this end date as much as you do, but Hector isn't sure he can allow his honor to countenance this. And he's 14, you know, and yeah, that's fucking
Cool.
tough.
Good stuff. Yeah. I love it.
What I'm saying is the best way is to talk to Cassandra alone, I think.
Yeah. Do we have the same age of majority? Does Hector come of age at 18?
Yeah, let's say that, just because
Okay.
it makes everything easier for everything.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So he has some time to stew on this and to think about whether or not he wants to challenge me. Yeah. Trying to think of a way in which I can ask Cassandra to speak with me alone. She is the head of the house.
Yeah.
And I say, I would like to contribute to the. I'd like to honor to honor your house, and as we have the funeral service for Paris. And what's the state of our celestial bodies in terms of naming? Do you think that there's various stars and whatnot that we can that are unclaimed at this point?
Sure.
Sweet. So I say off the Leviathan. I'm pulling up the map myself.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I forgot that one of the moons was Suez.
Yeah, they're named after real ports. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I say, Cassandra, could you join me in the observatory? In your observatory, which I assume that they have, is like a noble house.
Yeah.
There is a star that I would like to name after your brother, in honor of your brother, and I would like to I'd like to get your approval before I make the nomination.
Cool. Yeah, and she looks at her brother and says, "I'll be with you in a moment. You know, wait for me in your room." And I think their observatory doesn't look out on real stars. I think it is holographic, and so you're in this room, and one wall is just or one area is just the Leviathan because it's just all encompassing, and then you can look out and kind of get past the web of moons and actually see the stars.
Nice. I love the idea that we can like walk up to the wall and do like the Minority Report, sort of like,
yeah.
And so I go and I go up to the map. I think I'm very familiar with these maps. I think Alexi, like when you're doing battle plans and stuff like that, like you zoom way in and you like see what troops look like. But in this case, it's like celestial bodies. So he's like, he like grabs the map and pivots it and puts the Leviathan behind them and says, she had said she didn't want to know the details of the fight. And so he says, he doesn't say, this is where we fought.
Right.
But it's pretty clear. It's pretty easy for her to suss out.
Yeah.
That, this would be one of the last stars that Paris would have seen before being pulled into the Leviathan. And so it puts the Leviathan in our back and like points to a star, and, like zooms in, and it's a bright star off in the distance. And he says, I would like to I'd like to name this star Paris, that it may guide travelers in your brother's name.
She nods, and I think it's dark and like it's kind of hard to see each other. So kind of she
Yeah.
started crying, and I think she says something that she doesn't mean to be cruel, but I think it comes out as cruel. And it's will that make you feel better?
He smirks and he says, I don't know, but I understand why you'd ask. I think we do a lot of things to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah, she
I'd
nods.
I'd like to ease your pain, but I don't know if I can. And if seeing me is just a blight on your house, I will leave and I will not pester you again. I didn't want this. I didn't want your brother. I didn't want your brother to die. And
From what I hear, it was Nestor.
he sort of, he looks around a little conspiratorially. We're totally in this dark space all alone, but
Yeah.
still, there's like this like tinge of it wasn't proper for me to approach him myself, but my second laid every bit of leverage he could against Nestor to retrieve to have him surrender, and so we could retrieve Paris. Either he believed it to the core of his heart, to the core of his being, that Paris would rather die than surrender, or he has desires of his own that are unknown to me, and your brother is a casualty of them. I killed your brother. I do not want to. I do not want to. I'm not trying to blame Nestor for that, but I was saddened and disappointed when he would not surrender. And I would make it up to you if I can't replace Paris, and naming a star after him comes nowhere close to it. But if over the next
let's name the star after him. I think it's a lovely gesture, and let's make it clear that by doing that, we are binding to each other. That when retribution with Nestor occurs, I will have a hand in it.
And he glances down ever so slightly at the sword at her side, that he knows that like she knows how to use, and says, he nods and he says that is agreed. And in 4 years, if your younger brother still feels that he needs to challenge me, hopefully this will mean peace between our houses. But if in 4 years your younger brother still needs to challenge me, we'll talk again. We'll find a way so that that no more bloodshed needs to be spilled between our families.
Maybe your brother could use a squire.
He could indeed. He is short-staffed upon returning.
That might be a way to bridge the matter.
Do you think your brother would accept such a role? He seems earnest. I did sense he seemed like he wanted to truly do what was right for your family.
I think we need to keep him busy so that he doesn't have time to have his grief fed by petty men.
There are certainly enough of them. And I wonder what the way things are agreed on. If it's a shake, if it's an arm clasp. I feel like if we're if we're sort of following our source material, that this would end in a clasping of arms and perhaps like a very hearty embrace.
Yeah.
You know.
Sounds good.
Of agreement. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And that is about an hour and 5 minutes we've been recording. So we can.
Wow. Jiminy crickets. I am rusty, man. I just been like, oh, we're just talking. Just exploring this world.
Yeah, we made one roll. But yeah, can we take the quick bio and then we'll come back and do what's next?
Cool.
It's kind of a cool cutoff spot.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if other people like observatories, but I've been to, like, even like fake ones where the stars are just painted on the map, but they're like cool spaces because it's a super dark room and the only thing that's lit up is the walls, and that just seems like a very cool space to have this very conspiratorial conversation in this very dark alcove.
Awesome. I'm glad you liked it too.
All right. So friends, we'll be back in 5, and see you soon.